I'm Leah, 29 years old, a freelance graphic designer who built my career from scratch. Growing up, my family was everything to me. We weren't rich, but we had each other. Or so I thought. Last week, I was scrolling through Instagram when my heart stopped. There they were, my parents and siblings laughing on a luxury cruise I knew nothing about. When I called my dad, his words cut deep. You didn't fit in, it was a luxury cruise. But what I discovered next changed everything. Before I continue, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Hit that like button and subscribe if you've ever felt betrayed by the people you trusted most. Trust me, what I'm about to share might help you recognize red flags I missed. I grew up in a modest neighborhood in Portland, Oregon, with my parents, Gregory and Martha, my younger sister Jenna, who's 25 now, and my brother Ryan, who just turned 23. We lived in a three-bedroom house with fading blue paint and a small backyard where Dad would grill on Sundays while Mom tended to her flower garden. Those simple moments felt perfect then. From an early age, I showed artistic talent. My kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Wilson, first noticed when I drew an elaborate family portrait that looked nothing like the stick figures my classmates created. By middle school, I was winning local art competitions and designing posters for school events. My bedroom walls were covered with sketches and paintings, each one representing hours I spent perfecting my craft, while other kids played outside. Art is a wonderful hobby, Leah, Mom would say, emphasizing the word hobby with a concerned smile. But you need something stable for your future. My parents weren't being cruel. They grew up during tougher economic times and worried constantly about financial security. Dad worked as an insurance adjuster for 30 years at the same company, and Mom was an administrative assistant at a local dental office. They valued consistency and predictability, two things the creative fields rarely offered. When college application time came, the tension in our house was palpable. I wanted to pursue graphic design at a prestigious art school in California. They pushed for business administration at the state university. We just want what's best for you, Dad said during one particularly heated discussion. We're a family, and families look out for each other. Someday you'll understand. We compromised. I attended Portland State University for their graphic design program, living at home to save money. Even with the in-state tuition, college wasn't cheap. My parents contributed what they could, but it wasn't enough to cover everything. I worked 20 hours weekly at a coffee shop near campus, and another 15 hours at the university library. Some nights I'd return home at midnight only to stay up until 3 working on design projects. Those years taught me self-reliance and discipline. While my friends posted pictures from parties and spring break trips, I was building my portfolio and taking on small freelance jobs, designing logos for local businesses, and wedding invitations for family friends. After graduation came the real struggle. The recession hit the creative industry hard, and entry-level positions were scarce. I sent out hundreds of applications and received only a handful of interviews, none resulting in job offers. Meanwhile, Jenna was starting college, and Ryan was entering his final year of high school. Money was tight in our household. Just get any job for now, Mom suggested. You can always do your art stuff on the side. Instead, I doubled down on freelancing. I created a professional website, networked at local business events, and offered discounted rates to build my portfolio. I moved into a tiny studio apartment with a roommate eating ramen noodles and working from a desk I built using cinder blocks and an old door. The turning point came when a small tech startup hired me to redesign their brand identity. They were impressed enough to recommend me to other businesses, and suddenly, I had more work than I could handle. Within 18 months of graduation, I was making more money than both my parents combined. That's when the family dynamics began to shift. It started small. Mom called asking if I could help with Jenna's textbooks for the semester. Just until payday, she promised. I transferred the money immediately, happy to help, and expecting nothing in return. The textbooks cost $400, a significant amount, but something I could now afford. Then came Ryan's laptop crisis during his first semester of college. His old computer died right before finals week, and he needed a new one immediately. $800 later, Ryan had a MacBook Pro, and I had my first inkling that these emergencies might become a pattern. The loans increased in frequency and amount. Dad's car needed major repairs. Mom's hours were cut at work. Jenna wanted to study abroad but couldn't afford the program fees. Each time the story was the same, they just needed help until things turned around and they'd pay me back when they could. They never did. I kept a spreadsheet tracking the loans, which eventually surpassed $20,000. Whenever I gently mentioned repayment, the response was always some version of, "We're family, we'd do the same for you." And I believed them. After all they had sacrificed for me growing up, this was my chance to repay their love and support. At least that's what I told myself as I watched my savings dwindle despite my growing income. Family takes care of family became Dad's mantra whenever money came up. We're all in this together. Then little did I know how one-sided that togetherness would prove to be. By my third year of freelancing, my business had transformed completely. I moved from my shared studio to a one-bedroom apartment in one of Portland's trendier neighborhoods. I converted the living room into a home office with a professional desk ergonomic chair and dual monitors. My client list included several recognizable regional brands, and I was turning down work because my schedule was booked months in advance. Success felt validating after years of my parents questioning my career choice. I wasn't just surviving as an artist, I was thriving. My work appeared on billboards, packaging, and websites. Occasionally, friends would text me photos when they spotted my designs in stores or restaurants. Each instance felt like a small victory. With financial stability came a newfound confidence. I started investing in retirement accounts, built an emergency fund, and even took my first real vacation since college, a week-long trip to New Mexico to attend an Adobe architecture tour I'd always dreamed of experiencing. I posted photos of beautiful buildings and desert landscapes, proud to finally have something to share beyond work projects. The week I returned from that trip, Ryan called with panic in his voice. "Leah, I'm going to get kicked out of school," he blurted before I could even say hello. "The tuition bill is due tomorrow and Dad's credit card was declined. They lost the overtime he was counting on." "How much?" I asked, already opening my banking app. "Just this semester," he promised. $7,000. I'll get a job and pay you back, I swear. I transferred the money immediately. Ryan was studying engineering and doing well. The thought of him dropping out because of finances seemed tragic when I had the means to help. He thanked me profusely, and I felt good about making a difference. 2 months later, Jenna's car broke down. Not just a simple repair. The transmission failed completely. She needed reliable transportation for her nursing clinicals, which were often at odd hours when public transportation wasn't running. "It's a safety issue," Mom explained during a three-way call with Jenna. "We can't have her waiting at bus stops at 4 in the morning." I researched reliable used cars and found a certified pre-owned Honda Civic for $11,000. It wasn't fancy, but it was safe and would last for years. Jenna cried with gratitude when I handed her the keys, promising this was a loan she would repay once she finished school and started her nursing career. The pattern continued. Dad developed knee problems that required surgery. His insurance covered most costs, but left $5,000 in deductibles and co-pays. Mom wanted a specific diamond necklace for her 50th birthday that cost $3,000. "Your father could never afford to give me real diamonds," she said wistfully during lunch one day. What had started as occasional emergency assistance had evolved into something different. My family no longer viewed me as their daughter or sister, who happened to be doing well financially. I had become their safety net, their contingency plan, their personal bank. During Sunday dinners at my parents' house, the conversation inevitably turned to money. Who needed what? Which bills were overdue? What unexpected expense had popped up that week? They stopped asking about my work or my life. The only value I seemed to have was financial. Despite the growing resentment, I created a separate savings account specifically for family emergencies. I consulted with a financial advisor named Daniel, who specialized in working with creative professionals. When I explained my situation, his expression grew concerned. "Leah, your generosity is admirable, but this is unsustainable," he said, showing me projections of my finances if the pattern continued. "You're compromising your own security. There's a reason flight attendants tell you to put your own oxygen mask on first." His words resonated, but setting boundaries proved difficult. I scheduled a family dinner specifically to discuss financial limitations. I practiced my speech beforehand, emphasizing that I loved them and would always help in true emergencies, but routine expenses and luxuries needed to come from their own budgets. The dinner was a disaster. Mom cried, Dad grew defensive, Jenna accused me of being selfish, and Ryan stared at his plate in silence. So now that you've made it, you're too good for us, Dad finally said. We sacrificed everything for you kids. Everything. I'm not saying I won't help, I tried to explain. I'm just saying we need some parameters around what constitutes an emergency. Parameters, Mom repeated, her voice rising. We're not some charity case you can set parameters for. We're your family. I left feeling guilty and confused. Was I being selfish? Were my boundaries reasonable? The conflict between obligation and self-preservation kept me awake for many nights, wondering if success was worth the strain it put on my most important relationships. It was a random Tuesday afternoon when everything changed. I was working on a branding project for a local bakery when a notification popped up on my phone. Jenna had tagged our family in an Instagram post. I clicked it without thinking and felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. There they were, Mom, Dad, Jenna, and Ryan, standing on the deck of a cruise ship, tropical drinks in hand, sun setting dramatically behind them. The caption read, Best family vacation ever. So grateful for this amazing time together. Our family, first, had cruise, life had blessed. I stared at the image, unable to process what I was seeing. My entire family was on vacation together, without me. Not only had they not invited me, but they hadn't even mentioned they were planning a trip. In the photo, they looked happier than I'd seen them in years, all smiles and relaxed postures. I scrolled through the album. There were dozens of pictures, elegant dinners in the ship's fancy restaurant excursions to beautiful beaches, shopping trips at various ports, parasailing adventures, and spa days. In every image, they looked carefree and joyful, a stark contrast to the financially stressed family I thought I knew. My hands shaking, I called my mother. The call went straight to voicemail. I tried Dad with the same result. I texted Ryan, looks like you guys are having fun. Wish I had known about the trip. His response came hours later. Reception is spotty out here. Yeah, it was kind of last minute. Last minute. The photo showed custom matching t-shirts that said, Family Cruise 2025, with everyone's names except mine. Those couldn't have been made impulsively. This trip had been planned, and I had been deliberately excluded. Finally, Dad called back the next day. I tried to keep my voice steady. I saw the cruise photos, I said. I didn't know you guys were planning a vacation. There was a pause before he responded. It just came together quickly. We didn't think you'd be able to take time off work anyway. You didn't even ask me, Dad, I said, fighting back tears. I would have made time for a family trip. That's when he said it, the words that would echo in my mind for months to come. You didn't fit in, Leah. It was a luxury cruise. Everyone there was relaxed and having fun. You're always so serious about work and money. We wanted to just enjoy ourselves without feeling judged. The conversation ended shortly after. I sat in my office chair, stunned by his dismissal. Was that how they saw me, as judgmental, as someone who didn't know how to have fun? It hurt deeply, but I tried to accept his explanation. Perhaps they really did think I wouldn't enjoy such a trip. Then came the discovery that changed everything. My family and I shared a cloud storage account where we kept family photos. I was looking for an old picture for a Throwback Thursday post when I noticed a folder named Cruise Documents. Curiosity led me to open it. Inside were reservation confirmations, excursion bookings, and receipts, all showing payments made with my credit card. My credit card. The world seemed to tilt sideways as I examined document after document. The cruise package for 4 people, $7,840. Shore excursions at 3 different ports, $1,200. Spa treatments for Mom and Jenna, $950. Shopping at port gift shops, $1,380. Airport transportation flight upgrades. Travel insurance. Prepaid gratuities. The list went on and on. The total came to just over $12,000, all charged to my card without my knowledge or consent. I felt physically ill. Racing to check my online banking, I found the transactions buried among legitimate business expenses I'd made during a particularly busy month. I never would have noticed if I hadn't seen the cruise photos. How did they even have my credit card? I always kept it in my wallet or locked in my desk drawer. Then I remembered Ryan stopping by my apartment unexpectedly about 2 months ago. He had asked to use my bathroom and had spent an unusually long time there. I had thought nothing of it at the time. I called my bank immediately to report the fraud. The customer service representative was sympathetic but confused when I explained the situation. "So your credit card was physically used for these purchases," she clarified. "It wasn't just the card number that was compromised." "That's right," I confirmed, my voice hollow. "And you believe a family member took the card from your wallet?" "Yes." There was a pause. "Ms. Parker, I'm sorry to tell you this, but to dispute these charges as fraud, you'll need to file a police report. Since you know who used your card, this would mean pressing charges against your family member." The reality of the situation crashed down on me. This wasn't just a misunderstanding or an ethical gray area. It was theft, identity theft, credit card fraud, crimes that carried serious legal consequences. "I need time to think," I told the representative, who placed a temporary fraud alert on my account and promised to send me dispute forms. After hanging up, I sat in silence for a long time, trying to reconcile the family I thought I had with the one that would steal from me, exclude me, and then lie to my face. Every memory, every moment of connection suddenly felt suspect. Had they ever loved me for me, or only for what I could provide? The next morning, I drove to my parents' house without calling ahead. They had returned from the cruise 3 days earlier. I needed to see their faces when I confronted them with what I knew. I needed to understand how the people who raised me could betray me so completely. Mom answered the door in her bathrobe, surprised to see me so early. "Leah, we weren't expecting you. Come in, I'll put on some coffee." Dad was at the kitchen table reading the newspaper. Jenna was still living at home while finishing nursing school, and I could hear her shower running upstairs. There was no sign of Ryan, who had his own apartment near campus. I sat down at the table, my hands folded in front of me. I had rehearsed what to say, but now that I was here, words failed me. "The cruise looked nice," I finally said, my voice surprisingly calm. "Must have been expensive." Mom and Dad exchanged a quick glance. "We found a good deal," Dad said, not meeting my eyes. "Sometimes you just need to treat yourself, you know." "A good deal," I repeated. "Was that before or after the spa treatments and shopping excursions?" Mom turned from the coffee maker. "What are you implying, Leah?" I pulled out printed copies of the receipts I'd found and spread them across the table. "I'm not implying anything. I'm asking directly. Why did you use my credit card to pay for your luxury family vacation that I wasn't invited to?" The silence that followed was deafening. Dad's face reddened, but it was Mom who spoke first, her voice wavering. "We borrowed it," she said. "We were going to pay you back." "Borrowed?" I echoed. "You stole my credit card, spent over $12,000 without my knowledge or consent, and deliberately excluded me from a family vacation that I paid for. That's not borrowing, Mom, that's theft." Dad slammed his hand on the table. "Now wait just a minute. After everything we've done for you, all the sacrifices we made raising you, putting food on the table, keeping a roof over your head, you're going to nickel and dime us over a little vacation." His reaction stunned me. I had expected denial, maybe, or shame, not indignation. A little vacation? $12,000 is not little, Dad. And yes, you raised me. That was your choice and your responsibility as parents. It doesn't entitle you to steal from me as an adult. Jenna came downstairs, hair wet from the shower. She took in the scene and immediately went on the defensive. "Oh, great Miss Successful is counting pennies again," she said. "You have so much money, Leah. You wouldn't even have noticed if you hadn't been snooping through our cloud storage." "Snooping? It's a shared family account that I pay for." "And that's not the point. The point is that you all conspired to steal from me and then lied about it." "We didn't steal from you," Mom insisted. "We just borrowed without asking. We're family." "Who took my card?" I demanded. "Which one of you physically took my credit card from my wallet?" They exchanged looks, but said nothing. "It was Ryan, wasn't it?" When he came over and spent all that time in my bathroom, he was actually searching my apartment. Dad sighed. Leah, you need to let this go. What's done is done. The trip was wonderful and we needed that time together as a family. As a family, I repeated. Without me, you wouldn't have enjoyed it, Mom said. You're always working, always worried about money and schedules. We wanted to relax. So relaxed that you committed credit card fraud. My voice was rising now. Do you even realize how serious this is? This isn't just a family disagreement, it's a crime. Dad's face hardened. Now you listen here. After all we've done for you, all the times we supported you, you owe us. We raised you, fed you, clothed you. We gave you life. If we needed a vacation, you should be happy to provide it. I've given you over $20,000 in the past 2 years alone. I cried. Loans that were never repaid. I paid for Ryan's tuition, Jenna's car, your medical bills, Mom's birthday gifts. I've been supporting this family while you act like I'm still the child who needs guidance. And now you've made it and think you're better than us, Jenna sneered. Too good for family cruises. I wasn't invited, I shouted, finally losing my composure. You excluded me from a vacation that I unknowingly paid for. How can you not see how messed up that is? The argument escalated from there. Dad brought up how they'd supported my unrealistic art dreams when I was younger. Mom mentioned driving me to art competitions on weekends when she could have been relaxing. Jenna complained about always getting my hand-me-downs growing up. Then Dad dropped the final bomb. We were actually planning to ask you to help us buy a vacation home next year. Just a small place at the coast, nothing fancy. I stared at him speechless. They had stolen $12,000 from me, and they were already planning to ask for hundreds of thousands more. You're delusional, I finally said, standing up. All of you. I'm not your personal bank. I'm your daughter, your sister. Or at least I thought I was. Don't be so dramatic, Mom said. We're family. Families share resources. Not like this, I said, gathering the receipts. Not through theft and lies. I left their house with tears streaming down my face. The drive home passed in a blur of betrayal and grief. When I reached my apartment, I collapsed on the couch, feeling completely alone in the world. The people I had trusted most, the ones I thought would always have my back, had not only stolen from me but seemed to feel entitled to do so. That night, I looked through old family photos wondering if every smiling moment had been a lie. Had they always seen me as a resource rather than a person? Had my value always been measured in dollars rather than love? For the first time since I was a child, I cried myself to sleep. The next week passed in a haze of meetings, phone calls, and difficult decisions. My initial shock gave way to a grim determination to protect myself, even if it meant severing ties with my family. My first stop was the bank's fraud department, where I met with a representative named Angela, who specialized in identity theft cases. I brought all the documentation I had gathered, the receipts, account statements, and a timeline of events. Unfortunately, this happens more often than you might think, Angela said gently. Family financial fraud is one of the most underreported crimes because victims are often torn between protecting themselves and protecting their loved ones. She explained my options. I could press charges which would likely result in criminal proceedings against whoever had physically taken my card, Ryan, and possibly against anyone who knowingly used it fraudulently. Alternatively, I could absorb the loss and focus on preventing future theft. Take some time to consider what you want to do, Angela advised. This isn't just a financial decision, it's an emotional one. I sought guidance from my friend Taylor, an attorney who had supported me through the ups and downs of building my business. I hate seeing you go through this, she said as we sat in her office after hours. But you need to understand that if you don't report this, you're essentially telling them it's okay to take advantage of you. They're my family, I said weakly. Family doesn't steal $12,000 from you and then blame you for finding out, Taylor replied. I know this is hard, Leah, but you need to protect yourself. If you let this slide, what's next? Will they take out loans in your name? Use your business accounts? Where does it end? Next, I consulted with a lawyer who specialized in identity theft cases. Jonathan Miller listened carefully to my story before offering his professional opinion. Between family members, these cases are particularly complex, he explained. Courts recognize the unique breach of trust involved, but also understand the complicated emotions at play. If you decide to press charges, be prepared for a difficult process. Your family will likely minimize their actions and try to make you feel guilty for pursuing legal action. They already do that, I said. Jonathan nodded. The bank will require a police report to refund your money. Without one, they'll consider the charges authorized since a physical card was used. The weight of the decision kept me awake night after night. I thought about family holidays, birthdays, the ordinary moments that built our shared history. Could I really be the one to potentially send my brother to jail? Would pressing charges irreparably damage relationships that might otherwise be salvaged? But then I remembered my father's entitled tone when discussing the stolen money, my mother's casual dismissal of the theft as borrowing, and Jenna's resentment toward my success. They had shown no remorse, no recognition of the gravity of their actions. 5 days after discovering the fraud, I filed a police report. The detective assigned to my case was a woman named Marissa Reeves, who had handled numerous family fraud cases. She took my statement with compassion, but without sugarcoating the road ahead. Your brother will likely face charges of credit card theft and fraud, she explained. Depending on your state's laws and whether this is his first offense, penalties could range from probation to jail time. Your parents and sister could potentially face charges as accessories if they knew the card was stolen. Filing the report unleashed a flood of family drama. My parents called incessantly, alternating between tearful pleas and angry accusations. Dad claimed I was destroying the family over a simple misunderstanding. Mom kept asking, "How could you do this to your own brother?" Ryan sent a text that read, "Only, I thought you loved us. Guess money means more to you than family." Jenna took her anger public, posting vague but pointed comments on social media about so-called family members who care more about their bank accounts than blood relations. Some extended family members and mutual friends, not knowing the full story, reached out with confusion and concern. But not everyone took their side. My Aunt Susan, my mother's sister, called me out of the blue. "I heard what happened," she said. "I want you to know I support you completely." And her words brought fresh tears to my eyes. "You do." "Your mother has always had a sense of entitlement about money," Susan said. "It was the same when we were growing up. What they did was wrong, Leah, and you deserve better." Uncle James, my dad's brother, reached out next. "This isn't the first time they've done something like this," he revealed. "They tried to get me to co-sign a loan last year after their credit application was denied. When I refused, they didn't speak to me for months." As the legal process moved forward, the family split into opposing camps. Most sided with my parents, viewing me as the villain who was punishing my family over money. A few, like Aunt Susan and Uncle James, recognized the deeper issues at play and offered their support. Ryan was charged with credit card theft and fraud. When confronted with the evidence, he confessed to taking my card, but insisted it was a family decision. He also admitted to borrowing my card information for online purchases multiple times before the cruise, explaining some mysterious charges I'd previously attributed to website billing errors. Jenna escalated her social media campaign against me, vague posting about betrayal and the true meaning of family. Several clients asked if everything was okay, having seen the posts through mutual connections. I worried about the impact on my professional reputation, but refused to sink to her level by addressing it publicly. I spent hours with my bank setting up additional security measures, placing fraud alerts with credit reporting agencies, and changing all my passwords. I installed a security system in my apartment and bought a small safe for important documents. The violation of privacy left me paranoid and distrustful. As the initial legal proceedings began, an eerie silence fell over my relationship with my parents. After weeks of constant calls and messages, they suddenly stopped reaching out entirely. The silence was almost worse than the accusations, a gaping void where family connection should have been. I started seeing a therapist named Dr. Marshall who specialized in family trauma. Our weekly sessions became an anchor in the storm of emotions. "What you're experiencing is grief," she explained. "Not just for the money that was taken, but for the family you thought you had. The relationship you believed in has been fundamentally altered, and you're mourning that loss. Those sessions helped me process the complicated blend of anger, betrayal, sadness, and guilt that churned inside me. I learned that standing up for myself wasn't selfish. It was necessary self-preservation. Your worth is not measured by what you can provide for others. Dr. Marshall reminded me often, you deserve relationships based on mutual respect and genuine care, not financial exploitation. Slowly, painfully, I began to find strength in standing my ground. Each time I resisted the urge to call my parents and apologize just to restore peace. Each time I reminded myself that I had done nothing wrong by protecting myself. I grew a little stronger, a little more resolved. The family I had known was gone, but I was still here, still standing. 6 months after filing the police report, the court ordered full restitution of the stolen funds, plus interest. Ryan received probation community service and mandatory financial counseling as a first-time offender. My parents faced no legal consequences, but were implicated throughout the proceedings as knowing beneficiaries of the fraud. I maintained minimal contact with my immediate family during this time. Occasional text messages with Ryan, who seemed genuinely remorseful, were the extent of our communication. My parents and Jenna made no effort to apologize or acknowledge the harm they had caused, instead positioning themselves as victims of my vindictiveness. Without family gatherings consuming my weekends, I found myself with more time to develop other relationships. I reconnected with college friends I had lost touch with while working such long hours. I joined a community garden where I met neighbors I had lived near for years without really knowing. My friendship with Taylor deepened as she stood by me through the entire legal process. She introduced me to her circle of friends, creative professionals who understood the unique challenges of building careers in artistic fields. Through the bank's identity theft recovery program, I met a financial advisor named Maria, who became both a mentor and friend. Unlike my family, she celebrated my financial success without trying to exploit it. "You've built something remarkable," she said during one of our meetings. "Not just a successful business, but financial literacy and responsibility at a young age. That's something to be proud of." Maria helped me understand that my family's financial behavior followed patterns that likely stretched back generations. She introduced me to resources about financial exploitation within families and connected me with others who had experienced similar situations. In therapy, I continued to explore the complex emotions surrounding the betrayal. Dr. Marshall helped me recognize that my family's behavior reflected their issues, not my worth. "Your generosity was admirable," she told me, "but it became a dynamic where your value to them was measured by what you could provide, not who you are. That's not love, it's exploitation." This insight led to a breakthrough. For years, I had equated providing financial support with being a good daughter and sister. I had tried to earn their love and approval through money. Recognizing this pattern was the first step toward breaking it. I joined a support group for victims of family financial abuse, meeting virtually with others who understood the unique pain of being exploited by loved ones. In that group, I met Zach, whose parents had taken out student loans in his name without his knowledge. His story resonated with me, and we began talking outside the group meetings. The hardest part, he told me during one of our conversations, was accepting that I didn't deserve what happened. For so long, I thought if I had just been a better son, they wouldn't have needed to steal from me. I felt the same way, I admitted. Like if I had just given them more willingly, they wouldn't have had to take it. Zach and I developed a friendship built on mutual understanding and respect. Unlike relationships where I felt pressured to give financially, our connection was balanced with clearly established boundaries that both of us respected. Despite the personal turmoil, my business continued to thrive. I channeled my emotions into my work, creating some of my most impactful designs during this period. Clients commented on the depth and authenticity showing through in my latest projects. The experience also inspired me to develop a workshop series for creative professionals about managing finances and setting healthy boundaries with clients and family. What began as a small gathering of local artists grew into a regular event, eventually expanding to online sessions for a wider audience. Your workshop literally changed how I approach my family about money. one participant wrote afterward. For the first time, I feel like I can be successful without being taken advantage of. Finding purpose in helping others avoid similar situations gave meaning to my painful experience. Each person who learned to protect themselves represented a small victory against the exploitation I had endured. The first holiday season without my family loomed as a difficult milestone. Thanksgiving had always been at my parents' house, with Mom's signature pumpkin pie and Dad carving the turkey. Christmas meant matching pajamas and our tradition of opening one gift on Christmas Eve. Rather than spending these days alone, I decided to create new traditions. For Thanksgiving, I hosted a Friendsgiving dinner for others without family plans. For Christmas, I volunteered at a children's hospital, using my design skills to create personalized cards for young patients. In January, 7 months after the discovery of the theft, Ryan reached out asking to meet. We arranged to have coffee at a neutral location, a cafe halfway between our apartments. "I'm sorry," he said immediately after sitting down. "What I did was wrong. Not just taking your card, but going along with the whole plan. You deserved better from all of us, especially me." His apology seemed genuine. He explained that he had completed the financial counseling required by his probation and was beginning to understand the dysfunctional patterns in our family. "Mom and Dad still think you overreacted," he admitted. "Jenna, too. They don't see anything wrong with what happened. But I do now, and I'm truly sorry." I appreciated his honesty, but remained cautious. "Thank you for saying that. It means a lot. But I need you to understand that rebuilding trust will take time if it's possible at all." "I know." He nodded. "I'm not asking for forgiveness or for things to go back to how they were. I just wanted you to know that I recognize what I did and take responsibility for it." We established tentative communication after that, occasional texts, and sometimes coffee every few weeks. Always in public places, always with clear boundaries. It wasn't the close sibling relationship we once had, but it was something a small bridge across the chasm that had formed. My parents and Jenna maintained their position that I had overreacted to a simple family matter. When I received a group text invitation to Easter dinner that made no mention of the previous year's events, I declined politely but firmly. "I'm not ready for a family gathering that doesn't acknowledge what happened," I responded. "When you're willing to have an honest conversation about boundaries and respect, I'll be ready to listen." No such conversation was forthcoming. As the 1-year mark of my discovery approached, I found myself reflecting on how much had changed. The betrayal had forced me to reevaluate every relationship in my life, to establish healthier boundaries, and to recognize my own worth beyond what I could provide for others. Painful as it was, perhaps that was a gift I needed to receive. 1 year after discovering the cruise photos that changed everything, I sat in my new apartment watching the sunset from a balcony overlooking the city. I had moved 3 months earlier, needing a fresh start in a space without painful memories. The new place had better security, a proper home office, and enough distance from my parents' neighborhood that I wouldn't risk running into them during everyday errands. The past year had been a masterclass in resilience and self-discovery. I had learned more about myself and relationships than in all my previous 28 years combined. My communication with Ryan had stabilized into a cautious friendship. He respected my boundaries, never asked for money, and continued his personal growth through therapy. During our monthly coffee meetings, we talked about his studies, my work, and occasionally carefully about the past. "I understand now how unhealthy our family's attitude toward money was," he told me during our most recent conversation. "Dad, especially. He always taught us that family members are entitled to each other's resources. I never questioned it until I saw how much it hurt you." My parents and Jenna maintained their position that I had betrayed the family by pressing charges. They made occasional attempts to reestablish contact, always with the implicit expectation that I would eventually get over it and return to my role as the family provider. A Mother's Day card arrived with a note that read, "We miss your support," not specifying whether that support was emotional or financial. I suspected the latter. A birthday text from Dad mentioned that their water heater had broken, an unsubtle hint about their continuing financial needs. I didn't respond to these thinly veiled requests. Through therapy and my support group, I had developed strategies for maintaining my boundaries without feeling guilty. Dr. Marshall helped me understand that forgiveness didn't necessarily mean resuming relationships with people who showed no remorse or change in behavior. Forgiveness is something you do for yourself, she explained during one session. It's releasing the burden of anger and resentment. It doesn't mean you have to allow the same people back into your life to hurt you again. I worked on forgiving my family for my own peace of mind, while simultaneously establishing firm boundaries to protect myself from further exploitation. It wasn't easy, and some days the anger and hurt felt as fresh as when I first discovered the theft. But gradually, the intense emotions began to lose their grip on me. My financial habits changed significantly. I became much more protective of my personal information, checking my accounts daily, and setting up alerts for unusual activity. I worked with Maria to create a comprehensive financial plan that prioritized my security and goals. Your generosity should come from choice, not obligation or manipulation, Maria reminded me often. One of the most healing experiences came through my therapy work on breaking generational patterns. Dr. Marshall helped me see how financial exploitation had likely been normalized in my family long before I was born. By refusing to participate in this pattern, you're not just protecting yourself, she said. You're potentially breaking a cycle that might otherwise continue through future generations. This perspective inspired me to establish a small foundation providing emergency grants to art students facing financial crises. Rather than enabling dependence, the program included financial literacy education and required clear repayment plans for larger amounts. It was my way of providing the kind of support I wished had been available to me during my struggling student days. My workshop series on financial literacy for creatives continued to grow, expanding to monthly sessions with waiting lists. I shared principles I had learned the hard way, teaching others to value their work appropriately and establish healthy financial boundaries, especially with family. Your creative talent has value, I told participants, and so do you completely separate from what you can produce or provide for others. My friendship with Zach evolved into something deeper as the months passed. Unlike previous relationships where I felt pressure to pay for everything, our connection was balanced. We took turns treating each other to dinner, respected each other's financial boundaries, and supported each other's goals without expectations. What I appreciate most about us, Zach said one evening as we walked along the riverfront, is that we're together because we want to be, not because either of us needs something from the other. His words captured exactly what had been missing in my family relationships. The simple joy of being valued for who I was, not what I could provide. The true test of my new boundaries came at my cousin Amber's wedding in June. It would be the first time I'd see my parents and Jenna since the confrontation over the stolen credit card. I considered declining the invitation, but decided to attend with Zach as my date. Amber had always been kind to me, and I didn't want family drama to prevent me from celebrating her special day. The ceremony was beautiful, but the reception was tense. My parents sat across the room, occasionally glancing in my direction, but never approaching. Jenna ostentatiously turned her back whenever I came near. Only Ryan made an effort, stopping by our table briefly to say hello to me and meet Zach. Near the end of the evening, I found myself alone at the bar when Dad appeared beside me. "You look well," he said, not meeting my eyes. "Thank you. I am well." An uncomfortable silence stretched between us. "Your mother misses you," he finally said. "I miss the mother I thought I had," I replied quietly. He stared at his drink. "We never meant to hurt you, Leah." For a brief moment, I thought this might be the beginning of the apology. I had waited for an acknowledgement of the pain they had caused. Instead, he continued, "Families share resources. That's just how it works. I don't understand why you had to make such a big deal of everything." And there it was, the confirmation that nothing had changed. In his mind, they had done nothing wrong. My hurt was an overreaction, my boundaries an inconvenience to their entitled access to my resources. "I need to get back to my date," I said, turning away. Mom watched me from across the room, her expression unreadable. When our eyes met, she quickly looked away, choosing once again to avoid the difficult conversation that might have begun to repair our relationship. Driving home that night, I realized I had reached a turning point. The encounter with Dad had shown me that true reconciliation would require changes they weren't willing to make. I could continue hoping for the family I wanted, or I could accept the reality and move forward without them. "Are you okay?" Zach asked gently. "Not yet," I admitted, "but I will be." The journey of healing continued in the months that followed. I developed a deeper appreciation for the chosen family of friends who supported me through the darkest times. I found joy in my work beyond its financial rewards, reconnecting with the pure creative passion that had driven me since childhood. Most importantly, I learned that my value was intrinsic, not tied to what I could provide for others. The people who truly loved me wanted my presence in their lives, not access to my wallet. Today, as I reflect on the past year, I recognize that family isn't defined by blood, but by mutual respect, genuine care, and healthy boundaries. True family lifts you up rather than draining you dry. True family celebrates your success without trying to claim it as their own. True family loves you for who you are, not what you can give them. If you're watching this and recognizing similar patterns in your own relationships, know that you deserve better. Your success doesn't obligate you to support those who would exploit your generosity. Your boundaries aren't selfish, they're necessary for your well being. And your worth isn't measured by what you provide for others. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members over financial issues? Share your experience in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about navigating challenging relationship dynamics. Remember, protecting yourself isn't selfish, it's essential self-care. Thank you for listening to my story, and I wish you the strength to honor your own worth, whatever challenges you may face.